Lori, shall we?
I think we've got a quorum here. Okay. So I think everybody who's on at this point knows us, I think.
Yeah.
I'm Lori. She's Chrysta.
I'm Chrysta. That's Lori.
That's Chrysta. And we take everything very seriously, not. So we wanted to start today with a kind of short meditation to kind of bring everybody in, kind of open up the circle. And we got somebody from New York. Welcome. So what I was going to do was start with housekeeping. So we're going to start with a short meditation, and then Chris and I will kind of tell you about the topic, how we got there, discuss what we got from nature, and then we're going to open it up for a Q&A.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start with a meditation that I got from Earwig, because that kind of seems to be what's up for us right now. And I'm kind of assuming that people know what an earwig is, but just in case, there she is. And Earwig has, when I connected with her, she's really received a lot of hate and anger simply for being who she is, because people don't like how she looks. She is blamed for crop loss. She's blamed for all kinds of things. And all she's doing is showing us where there's imbalance. So I did a meditation with her that was very healing for not just her, but pretty much all of us. And so I wanted to start off with that. So if you can just close your eyes, just sit comfortably, close your eyes, and we'll start with just a few deep breaths. And just relax your muscles. Feel where there's any tension. Just kind of let it go, sink into wherever you're sitting. Relax your shoulders and back, your jaw, just any place where you feel tension. So just take a few more deep breaths and relax as you sink into your breath. And just sink into your heart. Focus on your breath going in and out. As you breathe in, it goes down deep into your belly. As you breathe out, just relax and allow the breath to exit. It's almost like the tide. Water coming in as you breathe in. Water going out as you breathe out. Or it's like the air, the wind that blows the water currents. They're sisters, the wind and the water. And they have the same effects in their respective environments. So just feel that in your own body. Feel how you're part of this current. As the moon rises, the sap rises. As the moon rises, your blood rises. As the moon rises, the earwigs go deeper into the darkness. They're less active. As the moon wanes, the sap falls. As the moon wanes, the tides become less intense. The winds calm down. Earwig comes out to play. Earwig, like moth, needs the darkness. Earwig, like moth, needs the light for its cycles. We need the light and the dark for our cycles as well, for our inner tide. Our blood circulates differently depending on the moon cycle. Our brains function differently depending on the moon cycle. And so earwig cycles, a bit reversed from ours, are also dependent on the moon, light and dark, and the temperature. So envision earwig before you in beautiful shades of brown. Maybe you see a female. Maybe you see a male. One has larger pincers, the other smaller. When you look upon her, what emotions come up for you? Do you feel fear? Ask yourself why, and allow earwig to tell you what it is that you actually fear. If you feel dislike or hatred or disgust, ask yourself why. What part of you is that? Ask earwig why. What part of you is she representing? It's not about earwig. It's about a story in your life. If you receive an answer to that question, that's wonderful. If you don't receive an answer, that's fine too. It may come later in a way that you least expect. But go within to your heart. Find the person, event, or thought that brings you the most joy in this world. Plant that in your heart and focus on it. It could be a child, a spouse, a parent, an event, a piece of land where you live, your home, a place that you visited, a place that you lived. Whatever brings you the greatest joy, hold that feeling, focus on that, allow it to grow. Allow your feeling of love to grow. And feel your heart expanding with beautiful, beautiful light. And now I ask that you place earwig in your heart with that love. It can be a very tiny earwig if you're not comfortable, or it can be very large. Doesn't matter. But place earwig in your heart with the greatest love you have and allow that love to keep growing and expanding. Allow it to expand outside your heart. Just envision a beautiful ball of light. It can be white or pink or golden or green, whatever feels good to you. And bathe earwig with love. Just allow that ball of light to keep expanding in size, bigger, until it encompasses your entire body. You and earwig engulfed in love. Ask earwig for forgiveness for anything you may have done to hurt her. This is the forgiveness for anyone you have not been able to forgive in your life. Ask her to help you find a better way. Ask her to help you show how you can heal your relationship with her, with yourself, with anyone else in your life. Thank Earwig for her service to the earth. Thank her for knowing her purpose and fulfilling it so beautifully. It doesn't matter if you understand her purpose. It only matters that she does, and that she be accepted for who she is. Find gratitude in your heart for this tiny being who has a purpose, who knows her purpose, and who, when she shows up for you, has a beautiful message for you. And agree that you will do your best to remember the next time you greet her or any other being like her, that you will listen for her message, that you will ask her for her message and see what comes. And now allow this energy around your heart and your vision of Earwig to dissipate into a golden light and to just fade and disappear with much love and reverence. So slowly bring your focus back to your body. You may want to wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers a little bit. Take a few deep breaths. Open your eyes. And I want to thank you so much for helping me to honor Earwig. So we are back.
That was really lovely, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was thinking that it was metaphorical for what is going on in the world today, how everybody needs to accept everybody for what they are.
We will be getting into that, yes.
Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun.
That's okay. That's okay. You're right there with us.
Yeah.
Great lead in. Segue. Impromptu.
So maybe I'll just talk a little bit about, I'll start talking a little bit about how we came to this.
Yes.
Okay. So a few weeks ago, Lori contacted me, and we had planned to be doing these once a month, just check-ins with nature, just to see what's going on. And I have to say, at that time, I was completely overwhelmed. Like, I think I was in, it was like I was in a cave. And I was so glad that Lori contacted me, because I was like, well, I don't know if I should contact her. It was a lot of stuff was up for me, just mainly overwhelmed. And so when we checked in with each other, we both realized, wow, something's going on, because this is something that was happening for both of us. So we thought, well, let's go ask nature, and I was dealing at that time, and I still am, it seems like there's a lot of activity in my life. And when I checked in with nature, at one point over the last couple weeks, they had said, well, or what I had understood was, we're in a chaotic node, like there's chaos. And I thought, that's interesting. And then literally the next day, where I live, fires erupted everywhere around me in British Columbia. And I went, oh, interesting, and I could really feel at that point, this was about just over a week ago, everything really started to intensify in the external world. And I think for me, there's been a lot that's also been coming up. I've just been watching it arise and one step at a time, one step forward. So yeah, so I'm sitting once again in British Columbia, where I live, in a ring of fire. There's fire around my whole community. And it's interesting how these sort of events seem to they're becoming the norm for us. And we're being challenged to really hold our center during these times. So yeah, that's what's been going on for me, just in a nutshell. I won't go into too much detail.
So for me, I am absolutely in a transitional phase, and things are so up in my face. And I was like, I didn't know if I wanted to bother Chrysta, but it was getting towards the middle of the month, and it was kind of like, well, we wanted to do a call, and let me just ping her and see what's up. And then we got together, and it's overwhelm, emotional overwhelm. There's stuff up for me. I have, like, if I feel just into my body, I have emotions coming up that feel the same as when I was getting divorced from my ex-husband 26 years ago. So obviously something it's like you go up this spiral and you revisit the same kinds of situations at a more advanced level, if you will, to clear even more. And so I have that going on, and changes that I want in my life, and actually feeling some of those, and there's so much change, and it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, and knowing that I have to take responsibility and stuff. So yeah, without going into much. So we got together, like Chrysta said, and I went out to see what nature had to say about it. And it's like, how do we get through this without going nuts? Right. So yeah, I guess for starters, I'll share the first visual that I got. Would that be good?
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
That's great.
So I went outside to ask nature what the heck is going on, right? And there's a spider. It has since moved, but there was a spider that lived right outside my door. And the first visual that I got, wait a minute, was this one. That was the visual I got, was a spider going nutso. So, so let me unshare that. So that was the beginning of my journey.
And
there is an entire video that's behind that, and I will put the link out in the chat because it's pretty hysterical. Okay, so that's out there if you guys want to go and watch that later. It's really short. It's only about 1.5 minutes. Yeah, so we both went out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think one of the big takeaways was don't resist.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit, Lori, about what you feel is going on, or would you like me to begin?
I can maybe start. You can like break in when you have something that fits. Feel free to interrupt.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first one I checked in with was mosquito, and mosquito is really actually important right now because she meets you where you are. And most people are not where they want to be, and she's good at reminding you of that. So what she is about is connection and protection. And so mosquito, just in a nutshell, protects the earth when it's in transition. She's a protector of the energies of the earth. So if there are places that people shouldn't be, she tends to be there en masse so like swampy areas, and the larvae are basically, they act like mussels act in running water. They're water they clean the water. They're filter feeders, if you will. They eat algae and that kind of thing, and they're also an immense food source. But yeah, if you're aligned with the energies, you're going to flow through this. And it's the resistance, it's the disconnect, it's the discord that's causing the problems. And a lot of us, so anything that's coming up, anything that you haven't dealt with, because the earth said in January, I'm done. I'm not playing codependent parent. I am not holding your pain for you. You get to deal with it. I will help you transmute it when you release it, but I'm not going to hold on to anything for you anymore. So everything's been up in our face since then. And it's just like more and more and more up. And so Mosquito was talking about the changes in consciousness, not just humanity, but also everything on this planet. Everything is shifting, everything is elevating, everything is changing. And what we see, where we're getting more and more frantic, and you can see that in people, is because the change is ramping up. There's more light coming down all the time. There's more love emanating from the earth all the time. And this is not the emotional love that gets stuck in our bodies. This is the energetic love that is basically everything that makes the universe. This is the universal love that is a vibration and not an emotion. So fear doesn't fit. That's another huge one. So our bodies are changing physically. They're being reconstructed. They're becoming more crystalline. We call it crystalline. What she says is expansive. We're expanding more. And so as our bodies change, fear doesn't fit geometrically. If you look at the sacred geometry, it's not a match anymore for our bodies. And so it's being pushed out, and we're having to deal with it. I've been dealing with my throat feeling like somebody's choking me. There's just so much. The fear is like, it's up above my solar plexus for the most part, and now it's in my heart and my thymus area and my throat. And I'm just like, so I'm having to really sit with that and allow my body to just feel everything, and allow it to rise, expand, go wherever it wants to go, because once it starts moving, that's when you can release it. But it's not about releasing these things as in I want to get rid of it. It's an acceptance and a loving it into being able to let it go, because you have to, because trying to push it away, again, that's resistance.
Yeah. And
the resistance is not working.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been getting too, Lori, is there's like our light bodies are being reformatted, and there's something about the love and compassion towards ourselves that's really important at this time. And it's almost like there's a quickening. I remember in January when we both were at the winter solstice, or around December, when we both checked in with nature. It was really clear that there would be a lot of subconscious clearing at this time. And it's like this alchemical fire that's happening in our cells. Like there's a burning away of all of this subconscious programming that we might not even be aware of, but it's affecting us physically. And in the last couple of weeks, I've actually been really ill a couple of times. Lori, thanks to you, you pointed out that it could be because I'm purging something. And I feel like, yeah, and on a physical sense, that's what's happening. There's like this major recalibration of our physical bodies happening. And our attention, our love, and our compassion towards ourselves is the key. And no resistance, no resistance.
Yeah, and boy, is that up for me. Because you don't realize how much of a control freak you are until you try to really just let go and allow.
Yeah.
and follow where source is guiding you, and source is guiding me in a direction that's scaring the crud out of me.
Yeah.
It's leaving a job that I've had for almost 20 years and going off and doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing, and to really embrace that instead of being dragged, because my pattern is I get dragged kicking and screaming, and something happens that causes me to have to go that path. And this time I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that. I have to make the decision myself. I have to take the actions myself. I have to make it happen. And I'm so used to being, this is ancient old, but I grew up with people bossing me around all the time. And so for me to take responsibility and say, okay, I'm deciding this and I'm actually going to do it, it's a change, and it's challenging, but I'm getting there. Mm-hmm. I'm taking steps. So it's, yeah. And you're kind of in the same position. You've got things going on too that are just,
yeah, there's a lot going on for me where I feel like I'm being challenged to step up more and step out of hiding more, and it's bringing up a lot for me, a lot.
Yeah. That hiding thing, I'm so good at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a big thing for me in the past. Kind of makes me squirm just to talk about it.
I know. Yeah. So another thing that I got was that the dimensions, the separation between the dimensions is just dissolving, but its separation itself is dissolving. And so our fear of connection, because we're so used to separation, mm-hmm. it's scary to feel other people's stuff. It's scary to when you recognize, I was out in the forest and I had one of those, they used to call them spells probably, but when when your visual starts doing this, it starts just going kind of back and forth, and you kind of have to work to keep your balance. And there was a deer near me that was like shifting shapes. And so, yeah, things aren't as solid as we sometimes want them to be to feel safe. And so this whole thing of connecting, and the fact that everything, it's our perception, it's our having to recognize that we are connected. And that's really hard when you come from a society where disconnection and competition is prized.
Yeah.
And so it was Spider that gave me this vision of what connection is when you recognize your purpose, because the insects and most beings in nature, they come in knowing what their purpose is. They know why they're here. They don't have to, think about, is there God or anything. They don't have any of that. They don't need religion, because they know that they're God and that we're all God. But we have to go through this whole thing of figuring it out. And part of that is that part of our purpose in being here is expansion of the universe, of everything, of new experiences. So what I got was that we are in this huge web, and there are like threads, electrical, if you want to call it, it's like the threads of a spider web. It's all, everything, everybody is connected in a multitude of ways. And it allows for these amazing possibilities for how people meet, how people interact, depending on the energetics of each person. And it was I can't even put it into words. It was so amazing. But when you become clearer with your purpose, it's kind of like if you have this web that's somewhat opaque, and you have a firefly that's flying through, and their light dissolves everything that is not their path. And so their path becomes really, really clear to them. because anything in that massive connection that is not part of what they are here for is very clearly, it's so clear to them what they're here for that falls away and they can't see it. And that's where we're headed when our purpose really shines through and we follow it. There's a book, it's called The Healing Handbook. And there's a statement in there for most of the healing process where it says, bringing me back to the state the Creator and I had intended for me to have now. And that's really what it is. It's that reconnection to source, that clear reconnection to source, where it's like you're a flashlight going through space, and everything in space is that flashlight. Your path is clear. Anything else just falls away, and you see your greater purpose because it's a hologram where every tiny piece of that purpose is encapsulated in the big picture, and the big picture is in the small picture, and everything is within you. And so when you allow that, you see the big picture out there, but you also have the immediate steps to get to that bigger picture, because it's all just, it's like it's laid out an inch ahead of you, a foot ahead of you, 2 feet ahead of you, just as far as you need to see and no further. And that's all you see, and that's all you need to see. And anything that doesn't take you on that path forwards in the right direction just dissolves away. So that's where discernment is, because then you can see something that may look attractive on the one hand, but you feel in your heart that it's not where you need to go. And so it's really easy to ignore, let it fall away, say no. That's where boundaries come from. That's boundaries is that connection and that knowing and that certainty in your heart of, this is my path. Yes, that fits. No, that doesn't.
Yeah. I received information about connection too, Lori, and what I translated it as is there is a split in the worlds in progress. And I know people have talked about this, and I don't necessarily understand it, but what came through was the split doesn't really mean you will live separately from others. It means that you will come closer together. So there's like this level of connection that's happening. It's like a merging or something. And then through your attention and love and compassion towards yourself, you're bridging your world with the rest of the environment. And at the same time, moving into a different frequency or vibration than the rest of your environment. So we're asked to continuously align with spirit, with source, continuously, every moment, aligning with source, and love and compassion being the guide. I mean, it's easy to say, and but I think in terms of that, a deep knowing that all is well, all is really well with us, with everything that's going on, with with even our faults, understanding that underlying wholeness that exists in everything.
It's that underlying perfection.
Exactly.
The perfection in the imperfection.
Yeah, and that's that connection with spirit. It's like there's perfection in it all.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's really what's been coming through a lot in the past week for me when I check in with nature and the plants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one other thing, so going back to January, we had a call in January about what's up for the new year. And one of the participants there was Daddy Longlegs, and they're also called harvestmen. And that was one that so cracked me up because, you know, there are stories, and I don't know if it's the Bible or wherever, about the Great Harvest, where it's supposedly about people dying. And they said it's not about people dying, it's the death of fear. And how people deal with releasing fear. It may mean they leave their bodies. It may mean that they just release it and they continue on. But it's fear that's dying. And fear is so pervasive in our entire society. And it is used so much for control that if that's how you live your life, what does that do? If fear is no longer there, what does that leave you? It leaves this big, huge gaping hole that's really, really scary. So the releasing fear is just, fear is, you know, anger is a mask for fear. Shame is a mask for fear. Depression is a mask for fear. So many emotions are cover-ups for the fear that's down below that. And so really simply allowing your body to feel and being willing to sit with whatever is there, and allowing it, knowing that you can release it, knowing it doesn't have to stay there.
Yeah.
I think that's an important way to help people get through it. And grounding. If you want to get through this, the trees were like, come see us. You know, I think every time I go out and get any kind of a reading, they're like, people need to be with us. And what I've got this group of 5 trees, and I call them the sentinel trees because they kind of line part of a walkway, and they don't form a complete ring, but they have a specific energy. It's kind of like going through a portal when you go past them. But what they said is our disconnect is really coming to light. And that's what's up. Disconnect brings up all the fear and everything. And so come to the trees for peace. Sit underneath them, hug them, whatever. But you need to be around trees because they're just really, really grounding. And the other thing I got that kind of, I don't want to say freaked me out, but I thought was really weird was, I talked last time about getting that the tree was transmitting. I felt that it was transmitting, and you know, it would like transmit outward too. And this time I got more of a global picture that just blew my mind. The trees are like the antenna of the earth, and they transmit out into the universe, and they tell the earth what is going on around here, whether there are other like meteorites or where the moon is or where planets are or whatever. They transmit that out. They bring that information back, and the earth pulls that in. It's broadcast out around it so that nature knows. It's pulled into the earth so that the earth knows. And it is an energetic guidepost for the earth for how to deal with things. And with all the trees we've cut down, those are like numb spots on the earth. Those are places where she has no feeling. It's like if you had nerve damage in your arm and you couldn't feel things on your arm. And that was just like,
yeah,
that was wild. But you had something on that too. And so the oceans absorb a lot of like the sun's energy and that kind of thing, but the trees are really like antennas.
Yeah, they are. That's always been my experience with the trees, is they're receivers and transmitters of information, and specifically cosmic information. So especially the old growth trees, that's why they're so important right now, is they're pulling in a lot of cosmic information and broadcasting that into, you know, the earth, the planet, all of the beings that are sustained by them. And there is this community in Italy called Domenhur, which I get to go see this fall. Yay! I'm taking a visit there, but they have been doing work by connecting old growth trees where they go on the planet with other old growth trees. They have a process of connecting them in a grid right now so that they can sustain the connection, like you said, Lori, because they feel the same. Because there's been so many clear cuts, the transmission wires have been damaged, but they're taking initiative to connect all of the old growth trees to strengthen those grid lines. So it's really good work. Yeah.
I can't wait to hear your report when you get back.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited for that. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and it would be really good to know what we can do. I mean, I have trees all over the place around here, but they're all younger.
Yeah.
Most of them are, 40, maybe 50. We don't have a lot of old trees.
I think it's specific to your area too. So I think in your area you work with what you have in terms of how old the trees are. I mean, you can't,
Right.
You can do. Yeah. Yeah.
But it would be nice to know how to help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll report.
Okay.
One thing I thought that was really interesting, a little on a separate little topic that came through, which is similar to the light body being reformatted, which I think is the exact same information, is what came through was that during the solstice, with the influx of light, there was an activation of our pineal glands, like a huge activation of our pineal glands. And this is going to create changes in our perception of time, space, density, and frequency. And I've really been noticing that with time for myself. Like, I'm feeling more and more like it's one long continuous moment. I don't know if that makes any sense, but something's changing, and everything that we perceive as real on this plane is shifting right now. We're in the pattern of shifting. Our doors of perception are being completely transformed. And what came through was the pattern of everything is becoming more refined, more clear, more crisp, more fluid, and more dense. And there was this statement that we are moving into higher octaves of expression. So I'm not sure what that means, but I guess experience will tell, how this all plays out. I don't know. But what's been coming to me a lot this past week is, I remember years and years ago, there was that buzzword around imaginal cells and it's just been coming into me like during the day and through my meditations, and just that word imaginal cells. And it's this process of when a butterfly goes into the cocoon, or a caterpillar goes into the cocoon, and it breaks down into liquid. And the only thing that actually survives are these imaginal cells. And the imaginal cells are what actually key into and form the DNA, or key into aspects of the DNA, and they build the structure of the butterfly. And I really think there's something going on for us here, like that, with this subconscious clearing and everything. And I have this feeling like there is this, I don't even know how to explain it, but I think that word imaginal cells is key for me in terms of our ability for what we focus on and how we imagine ourselves and what we can do and what we can create, and this is a really potent time for that, as everything's collapsing, as everything's shifting. So yeah.
That ties into what I got from Burdock about rebirthing. So normally what happens what has happened in the past is that somebody dies and we mourn their death, and that's actually a conditioned response to mourn that, because there are societies where it was seen as a rebirth into a higher dimension and it was celebrated.
Yeah.
Right. So we've taken something that should, if you will, can be celebratory, and have turned it into a reason to suffer.
Yeah.
And now, with everything collapsing on itself, it's almost like we're rebirthing ourselves new in an expanded way, but within the same physical body, because the body's able to shift.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, everything gets rewired.
Mm-hmm.
Everything gets rewired. So it's a
Yeah.
spiritual rebirth in the same physical body, is
Right.
how they described it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, so how do we navigate this, right? And I mean, what kept coming through for me was, don't resist. Like you said, Lori, do not resist.
Yeah.
Watch your thoughts, really be mindful. It's really time to develop the witness and watch your thoughts, and yeah.
What's working for me is looking at beliefs that I have that are so ingrained and saying, what if this isn't true?
Yeah.
What if this isn't true? What would I do if this wasn't true?
Yeah.
What could I, who could I be if this wasn't true?
Yeah.
And it shifts things slowly.
Yeah.
It changes how you think. It's pretty amazing. So
yeah, well, and just the ability to get quiet, and shut the external world off for a little while is really important. How whatever it takes for you to do that, whether it's meditation practice or going out in nature. Spending time in nature right now is essential.
it's really important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been sitting with my feet in the stream a lot lately.
Yeah, exactly. And one other thing that kept coming through was listen to your body. I know that for me, like I mentioned, my body's been going through some major recalibration, and if you rest, it's like, listen to it. If you need rest, rest. If you need, certain types of foods, um, acknowledge and honor that. It's really important to take care of yourself right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also what's important is, when you're feeling into your body, if you can ask whether what you're feeling is yours or someone else's, because as separation kind of dissolves and we become more connected, we become more empathic. So people who aren't used to being empathic, or maybe are but didn't know it wasn't their stuff, you're going to have a harder time. So really checking in is like a daily or multi times a day kind of thing, to just kind of, I'm having to do it more and more often to not freak. It's challenging.
And processing.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's great. Victoria is having this new processing lab, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That would be a good thing for people to tune into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is almost the top of the hour.
Yeah. Time for questions.
Time for questions, if anybody's got any. So let me unmute everybody. And if you would mute your own lines so that we don't have a bunch of noise.
Oh, I just wanted to say something. I've been really enjoying, out of the corner of my eye, the little slideshow of Nadza's beautiful home.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That was really neat.
It was like a tour, a personal tour.
I did have one other thing. I don't mind earwigs, they're fine. I have this thing with some kinds of bugs, and I'm wondering, and it's disgust, it's not hate, it's just, ugh. because, you know, some of them, like, they go in the toilet and then they want to get on your food, and that just totally freaks me out. And I don't know how to deal with that at all.
You're talking about like flies and stuff?
There's these there's these little flies. They kind of come in cycles. You know, they're diminishing right now, fortunately, but they just, you know, they don't care if they die or not. You know, they just go, like, they dive right into your food and die. You know, or they fly up your nose. You know, it's horrible. But you know, they just get, and I kill them. I mean, I can't deal with it, and I don't like myself when I do that. But how do I deal with that?
So, do they come? Are they there when you're not eating, or is it mostly when you're eating?
No, they're there. They're just kind of everywhere. It's like I sit down to knit, and they come and fly around my face.
Ah. So when they fly, I had this going outside. So when they fly around your face, are you stopping and paying attention, or are you trying to avoid them?
I'm trying to avoid them.
Okay. So why don't you try stopping? It's like fear. When you avoid fear, it just keeps coming up and it keeps coming up and it keeps coming up. So why don't you try just stopping, focusing your attention on them fully, and see if you can get any kind of message. Ask them why they're there, what they represent, what they have for you. See if you can get any kind of thing, because I had that outside, and if I would just stop and focus, it was really just something that it was for me, it was just an indication that I wasn't present with whatever I was doing. It was that simple. Yours could be something very different.
Yeah, I think it is different. Well, yeah, they don't bother Tom at all.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's got to be something about me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have a thing with moths in our house, and it's my son's thing. We're very clear on that. We both know that, because they don't do anything with me, and they've like eaten holes in some of his stuff. So it's something that he has to deal with.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's the same thing there. But try just acknowledging them, and sitting with them, and see if it could be something simple that you're just not acknowledging.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question for Laurie.
Okay.
I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes over here. It's crazy. They just love me so much, but I'm like scratching everywhere. It's just horrible. So yeah, I don't take the time to talk to them, or I don't even see them for that matter. You just get bit, you know. They
So
just
you don't even notice until afterward?
love that. Well, you kind of notice it when you know, when I go out in the evening to water the plants or whatever, and you get bit, and you just immediately you feel the sting and so forth.
And
But then
it, right?
I don't even know when what happens, and then you can have your whole leg full of bites, and you don't even know how it happened and so forth. I have one on my face. It's just like, God, I hate that. You know, I read that they like type B, the type O blood, and I have type O blood, so.
So do I.
So do I.
It's just, so they just eat you alive. Do they eat you alive?
No.
You know
No.
what?
Okay, tell me your secret then.
They used to.
At home, I don't get bit that much, but I'm in Texas right now, and I got chewed the other night. I was out. I've been going through a lot of tea tree oil, putting them on the bites because it helps with the itch.
Uh-oh.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know if you have tea tree oil, but I've worked with them, and again, this is going to be interesting when I go out to California, because I've worked with mosquitoes here in this area a lot, and they give me a meditation that is very calming. It brings me in resonance with their energy. I can send that to you. I don't know if it'll work for the ones in your area, but you could maybe. If you can, maybe at a time when there are less of them, just ask them for a meditation that brings you into resonance with them. But I will send you, I'll send you a recording of what I have. It's really kind of weird. It's really kind of weird. You end up with kind of this coppery vibrating pill shape thing that they seem to really like. So I still have it around me. But I've been working with them a lot, and it's not that I don't get bit anymore, but it's that I don't notice it a lot of the time, and my body doesn't react much. And again, that's local. You're new to that place, right? You haven't been there very long. So you're energetic. No. You may not energetically match where you're at yet. And that could be the same thing for you.
Oh.
So when you're an energetic match and you like belong to that piece of earth where you are, if you're in resonance with that, they tend to bother you less.
I am not an energetic match for Texas. I know this.
There you go.
Well, also remember, there's, I know you've heard this, Lori, because we've talked about it, but I don't know if Nadza's heard this, but my friend Anna Breitenbach, who is in communication with all the, other species, she actually lets them bite her. She says, I'm glad to let you have some blood because they need that. I guess it's the females that are going to.
Yeah, it's only the females. Yeah.
They need that. And so she says, so I'm more than happy I have enough blood for you to have some as well. Please just don't put the proboscis in that secretes it's not necessary. They can actually take blood without stinging you. It's when they stick that little thing in, they stick their little proboscis in, and they secrete something. That's what causes the sting. But they can take blood without doing that.
Yeah.
Oh. So
that would be interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been able to do that personally, but
and that's also what causes more of the reaction.
Yeah.
It's that secretion. So yeah, I've been outside at times, and what I will do is before I go out, I'll set an intention. This is why I'm outside, and I will specifically request that the mosquitoes, yes, you can have blood. I just don't want to notice it, and so I can come back in with 9 or 10 mosquito bites, and they itch for an hour, maybe less, and then they just go away. So it's not disruptive. And it's also learning to, because mosquitoes meet you where you're at. If you're in discord, they're going to amplify that discord and make you crazy. And so my first meeting with them, my intention was simply to go out and meet them, and they were like, okay, we'll meet you. And it's like after 20 minutes, it's like, I can't take this anymore. And they said, feel what you're feeling.
Yeah.
What you were feeling when you came out here is we amplified that. That's all we did. We just amplified it. So yeah, you have a lot of discord going on. And so we're going to amplify that. And so if you can recognize that and thank them for whatever they're showing you, and getting past that is kind of the thing, because I'm to the point now where I really don't have to focus a whole lot when I go out. But again, that's around here. So if I go someplace else, I would probably be starting from scratch. So I will find out.
That's been my
Thank you.
Yeah, that's been my experience too, Lori. It's just really checking in with what I'm feeling. Like, I think with the mosquitoes, and they're called buggy for a reason. It's like, I start to, if I get really agitated, I get agitated, and I start to get whipped up into this frenzy internally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're swatting but the more I can pay attention to that and just really I like how you explained it as coming into their frequency. I like that. I just have always thought of it as my Zen mind, where I just sort of everything.
Same difference. Yeah.
And then they start to just float around me, and they're not frantic, you know. And then
they're floating around. They may like touch down and take off.
Yeah, that's right. They aren't as frantic. They don't seem as interested in me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've found the same thing since I've been living here more frequently in South Africa, that I hardly ever get bit anymore.
Yeah.
But I still wasn't able to have the conversation.
Yeah, I want to try.
I know. It's like I just haven't had an opportunity where I thought about it at the right moment. Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of I allow them at times to kind of guide me through the forest. So if I'm, you know, I go out there and it's like, okay, my intention is to get information, or my intention is to sit and do some work, or my intention is whatever my intention is, they will kind of guide me down the right path. And if I get a bunch of them coming after me and bothering me, I'll change direction. I'll stop and I'll say, okay, where do I need to go, and change direction, and then they're gone.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm actually allowing them to guide me in some ways. And then I was sitting out there and with my feet in the stream, working on my PC, and there were suddenly like a whole bunch of them just landing on me. And it's like, you need to go. It's time for you to go. So I got my laptop, and I didn't realize it was like almost 9:30 at night. I'd been out there for 3 hours and the sun's going down, but my laptop's still light, so I can still work. And I'd been out there a lot longer than I'd planned on. So I got home before it was completely dark, but yeah, so mosquitoes are fun.
Yeah, right.
Anybody else, or is that it?
Questions?
Comments?
I just had one comment when you were talking about how, like, the kind of just being one with Source and being able to, like, see where you're going, and the other choices just kind of, you can let them fall away. I just kind of had this vision like you're on a path with a high beam flashlight, but it's a really curvy path. So you only see maybe the next corner.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
all you need is to the next corner. And then when you get to the next corner, then you can see the next stretch.
Right.
When you get to the next corner, then you can see the next stretch. You don't have to see the whole thing.
Right. But every piece of that has the big picture, so you can know your purpose and know this is where I'm going to end up. Basically this is where I'm going to end up. But that big picture, you don't need the whole path to see how to get there. That whole path of how to get there doesn't matter. All you need is
you're going to the top of that hill or that big tree or whatever.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah.
I really like that too, Lori. I like that image. And spiders have been coming a lot into my frame of reference lately. And it reminds me of what we were talking about the other day when, just the other day, about like little bits every day.
Yes.
You know? So like, I think for me, I've been in a lot of overwhelm because I feel like I want to achieve certain things, and I set these big ideas out there, and then all of a sudden, I mean, the big idea looks great, but then it looks the question of how do I get there is the part that's
and it's just worrying about the next step and not anything beyond that. That's
exactly.
And doing that next step, and just like a little one every day, just
a little action every day.
Yeah,
and mapping that out. It's so great. It's such a great tool.
Yeah, that's helping me too.
Yeah. Well, anyone else? No.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay. Then I think we are good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody for coming.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
And thank you.
Thank you. That was great.
You're
Yeah.
so
It's
awesome.
Enjoyed
it's
it.
so
Yeah.
fun to hang out with you.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Thank you for offering the call.
Mhm.
Oh, you're so
Yeah.
See you
Love
all
It's very
tomorrow.
helpful.
We'll see most of you tomorrow.
See you.
See you tomorrow.
All right,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
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 We do this.